Well, hello everyone, and welcome out to your midweek live currency room. This is Ankit here, and I'll be taking you through what's happening in the markets, see what's going on as far as the week goes, and then strategize for the remaining part of this week. As always, you know how this goes. If you have any questions, type in the chat box. Anything you want me to take a look at, I'll be happy to do so along the way.
Do you want to be a professional trader? Maverick Currencies is the oldest US-based Forex and crypto prop trading company that will pay you for trading with our capital. Trade our capital and keep 70 to 80% of the profits. We are looking for traders just like you that are hardworking and motivated. Click the apply link on the top right of this video to see if you have what it takes. That link takes you to a 4-minute video that explains the trader position available, and you read a list of FAQs that answer pretty much all the basic questions you have at this point. After watching the video and reading the FAQs, if you're interested, fill out an application, then you'll watch the full-length recruiting video, and then schedule an interview with one of our traders. Are you our next trader?
All right, so let's just get started and take a look at today's market analysis. So overall, markets definitely has picked up. We are seeing a lot of activity, especially this week. Anybody that's, I'm sure everyone is up to date with all the news so far. But, so far it's been a pretty active week. We had all that, all geopolitical concerns overseas seems to be all faded away now. So here we are, equity markets at all-time highs. I mean, can't believe, where we started this year. We had that massive dip in April, and then here we are, all-time high. So that's a pretty spectacular run. So where do we go from here? We'll take a look at the charts and see what the charts is telling us. Now, when we take a look at currency movements, remember, overall, we talked about market conditions. And for the most part, we have been very sideways for the last couple of months. And I must say that we started to see some breakouts taking place, especially in these European currencies. So where is the money flowing? In the currency market, we always want to pay attention to the money flow because, it's a pairs trade. We are buying something and selling something against it. So we always want to make sure that we are paying attention to the money flow. And right now, it seems like the money is definitely going into the European, the Eurozone here. We have Euro, Swiss franc, and pound. They are looking the best. They look directional. So we'll take a look at those charts. But if you take a look at Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, Kiwi dollar, these are all sideways. So these are still range bound. So, we are seeing currencies start to break out. Not all of them at once, but they are start to become more directional. So something we will be taking a look at and making a pivot accordingly. So now let's just take a look at so far what the market return has been for the week. Again, this is not the day's result. This is like so far what we've seen this week. So as you can see that this week has been a decent week, especially if you take a look at the European currencies. Here we are, Swiss franc, almost 1%. We're looking at pound, almost 1%. And then here we are, euro, also gaining as well. So this is where, we're seeing the majority of the moves. Now, traditionally with this strong risk-on sentiment in the markets, you would think that the euro, the Australian dollar, or the Kiwi, they'll be the strongest, but they're not. So this is why you always want to pay attention to those scores. If the trend scores are not the strongest, that's where you have to kind of, take the market as it is. Now, the biggest movement really has been so far this week in this Kiwi, in this dollar and the yen. Especially the dollar. Dollar started off a lot stronger, and then we actually saw a pretty big reversal in the dollar there. So, dollar again, both the dollar and the yen, they both would look bearish, but we had a massive move early this week in the dollar yen, and it seems like they're both kind of fallen back lower. So, dollar and the yen, we will be taking a look at those charts. Dollar hasn't really broken out the support yet, but seems like the yen is breaking at the support. So that's really what's really going on in the markets. These are the ones that we need to pay attention to. And then range-bound currencies, CAD, Aussie, Kiwi, they start to go back and forth here. So if you're looking for consistency, we will need to take a look at those big directional plays. Now, when we take a look at other markets, you can see that this week has been, since after market gapping lower, we had all that news over the weekend things have kind of calmed down quite a bit. And here we are, S&P up 2%, World Stock Index up 2%. Crypto's up very nicely as well. Again, if you look at the charts over the weekend, the Bitcoin actually dropped below 100K. So that was a massive drop over the weekend, but everything seems to have rebounded so far. Gold down, and look at that oil. Oil is down 11.3%. Remember, this thing was pretty strong going into this week. As you know, we had this escalation between Iran and US and Israel. We have all that geopolitical tensions. Those seems to be causing a big jump in the oil, and this is a pretty standard move where buy the rumor, sell the news. As soon as we had the news behind us, we saw the big crash in the oil market as well. So overall, lots of activity here. Now, when we take a look at the crypto market, you can see that it was a massive gain across the board. Here we are, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum up the most, 0.21, and here we are, Litecoin up 5. So broader rally in the crypto markets. Now, let's take a look at where we are in the charts and take a look at our market outlook. So we are at a +2 to +3 now. I mean, take a look at where we are in the chart. So this line that you see is the all-time highs. I think this is the prior resistance level. So you can see that we're almost at that all-time highs. If you take a look at NASDAQ, other indices, they have already broken out. So this is, I think, is a key level that we need to pay attention to, because where we were was extreme fear back in April. And in a very short period of time, April to May, May to June, just about 2.5 months, we are almost recovered that about 25% drop. So at this point, this level of resistance we need to pay close attention to, because this is where market could take a little pause here, because for a massive break to come, we probably need a catalyst there. And I think we can see that in the price action where, as we are hitting this level, the prices are failing to hold or break above it. So I think this is a good telling sign that there's a strong resistance in place. Now, why is it important to take a look at broader markets? Just so we can keep an eye on what the broader market sentiment is doing. Remember, one of the questions that we always ask, is it a risk on or is it a risk off? Because certain currencies do well in a risk on environment, and some currencies do well or worse in the other. So, if you're trading the yen, trading the dollar, whenever you see a risk off play, meaning that there's some concerns out there. So those are the currencies that actually do really well. So that's why we always ask that question. So, and that's something we're going to pay close attention to, especially as yen is, at the key level and the dollar is at the key level. Can they break lower? And can the market break out higher? I think they both sort of need to kind of coincide here. So we'll take a look at those charts shortly. Now, when we take a look at the calendar, so some of the events out of the way, again, didn't really have a big impact. I think at that point, over the news were more in play. But then if you take a look at the numbers yesterday, Canadian CPI came in line with expectation. Australian CPI came in below expectations. So the chances for a further rate cut for the Australian dollar goes higher. So I think that's one of the reasons why you're not really seeing the Australian dollar rally here a little bit. As we go into tomorrow, we have the final numbers, GDP out of the U.S., unemployment claims. I think this is the number that, we are closely paying attention to. There's an uptick in the unemployment claims. But outside of that, you can see not a whole lot. On a Friday, we have the Canadian GDP. But I think most importantly, that PCE price index number is what we're going to pay close attention to on a Friday. But overall, market seems to be smooth sailing till then. Now, this is the velocity score that we're seeing right now. As you can see that, we're seeing good moves, especially when you look at this basket over against this basket. Australian dollar is a mildly bullish, not so whole lot. But again, this is where the movement has been. CAD, dollar, yen on the short side, and then all this European currencies and Kiwi actually picking up later today as well. So what we're going to do here is that we're just going to take a look at the charts, take a look at how things are moving along, and we'll look at some possible trades ahead.
Do you want to be a professional trader? Maverick Currencies is the oldest US-based Forex and crypto prop trading company that will pay you for trading with our capital. Trade our capital and keep 70 to 80% of the profits. We are looking for traders just like you that are hardworking and motivated. Click the apply link on the top right of this video to see if you have what it takes. That link takes you to a 4-minute video that explains the trader position available, and you read a list of FAQs that answer pretty much all the basic questions you have at this point. After watching the video and reading the FAQs, if you're interested, fill out an application, then you'll watch the full-length recruiting video, and then schedule an interview with one of our traders. Are you our next trader?
All right, so here's a chart for the let's just start with the broader markets here. So here's a chart for the S&P. As you can see, that market looks very extended to me. I mean, especially on a 4-hour chart, you can see we have come a long way in just 2 days. So I think in the shorter term, we could see things start to pull back a little bit. But overall, just keep in mind is that if you're looking for a direction, is this still an uptrend? And within the uptrend, we can get these, mini trends where, they're pulling back. So they're kind of going the opposite way. Here's a 4-hour chart, got a little bearish engulfing candle. I won't be surprised that we see a little bit further pullback, but we're not, and nothing aggressive here. Everything is very much on the stronger side here. So when the price action is really strong, you'll notice that it doesn't really come down as quick. But when the price action is really weak, it rolls over a lot faster. So always keep in mind that kind of price action where, it is pulling back, but it's pulling back at a snail's pace. But when things are sort of rolling over, when markets are in a rough mood, you notice that it will roll over much faster. So this is, again, very strong price action. We'll see how the market closes today, but you can see that daily chart. Just wanted to point out, this is the all-time highs here. And at this point, if you look at the risk to reward, again, unless you're going for a big breakout play, going long here doesn't make sense. So this is where we could see some profit taking, or we could see things sort of line up here and then go for a big breakout. Now, when we take a look at other charts, like let's take a NASDAQ here, you can see that this thing has already kind of broken out today, but notice that exactly where the resistance is exactly where we are seeing things sort of top out right here. So we'll see how this candle closes. Like I said, it's important to see how the market is going to close today. But I think that's really where we are in the markets. I think the big news is out of the way. The big risk on and risk off, with the overseas news, that's all behind us. So we always want to take a look at what's next. And I think in the next 24 to 48 hours, things can go either way. Now, this is what's happening in the broader markets. Now, let's take a look at what's happening in the currency market. So some of the important charts I want to point out, here's the yen. As you can see, the yen has been a very good trade recently. This thing has been, it was sideways for the most part, but you can see that this thing has been trending lower now. But it's hanging off the support right here. So let's go on a 4-hour chart, see where we are. And you can see that on a 4-hour chart, there's definitely movements, there's bear rallies. And this is where you got to understand, with these markets right now, especially when you don't see a good, clear direction, selling those rallies are a better strategy than going for a breakout, because those breakout reverses quickly, but then those rallies rolls over much faster. So that's just really how the price action has been moving in this Japanese yen. So where we are right now in this price cycle, let me just draw some chart over here. I mean, you can see there is some sort of a price level here. This channel, that's where things are moving in. So at this point, it's trying to find support here. But remember, this is also coinciding with what's happening in the broader markets. If the broader markets are sort of pulling back a little bit, so we are seeing a little bit of a strength coming into the yen. So overall, trend looks pretty clear. In the shorter term, it's strengthening up a little bit here. So is it a confirmed breakout? I don't think it's a confirmed breakout yet, because you can see that we did break over here, had a massive rally here, and then broke lower here. So this is still a bit of a choppy here. So it's not a clear breakout yet. I think if this closed right above here, we'll probably still be range bound. Now, when we take a look at the dollar, and dollar, I must say that, dollar looked like, hey, this is ready to break out. But take a look at that big, massive reversal that came right over here. So that big, massive reversal over here is going to be an important one to pay close attention to. Now, Let me just fix this chart here a bit. So here's a chart here on this dollar, or in the dollar basket. Is it broken yet? No. It's where it's come down to is right at that support area. So not really looking to make most of it. I mean, like right now, I think this is back to neutral range here. And in the shorter term, we're definitely seeing some support at that level, but you can see that dollar is definitely experiencing some volatility here. So dollar continues to trade in that range. Again, I don't want to go for a breakout until I get a breakout confirmation. Now, when I go to the Swiss franc, this is another one that I wanted to kind of go over because it seems like euro kind of did the same move last week. I mean, here's a chart for last week euro. You can see that we did clear some very key level of resistance and we kind of held on to it. So I think this is where the euro actually looking pretty strong to me. So euro is now looking directional as well. So remember how we're looking for confirmation. We're looking for the breakout confirmation on those yen and the dollar. We don't have that, but this one looks pretty clear to me here. We got a nice little breakout over here, and it's just still setting up here. So as long as now this holds this level, this prior resistance is now the support. So I think at this point, we want to play a euro more directionally. Now, British pound, but let's see where that one is at. And again, this one's right against that resistance. So pretty nice recovery here in this pound as well. Looks bullish. And then, Swiss franc, like I said, it's looking pretty much like how the euro is looking. So this one is looks like it wants to break out higher. So far, it has not broken out yet. It's right up against that resistance. But if it gets above it, I think Swiss franc can make another run higher there. Now, when we go into the other currencies like CAD, you can see overall we got a nice big move along with the dollar, but CAD is just, as far as the range goes, it's not really going anywhere. Here we are with the Aussie. I mean, look at this tiny range. So again, this is why, Aussies has not been the greatest play. If you're looking for breakouts or, nothing is not really moving along here. So until this range breaks out, again, very similar to what we saw in euro and other currencies. You remember they were range bound for the most part too. If you look back in the euro right here, see how tight the ranges were. And then as soon as you identify things are breaking out, that will be the time to sort of go and pursue that price action. But right now, not really seeing that. Now here's the Kiwi, same thing, directional. It's not really moving higher, it's not moving lower. You can see that we got a nice big reversal over here. So Kiwi seems like it's a great long play. It's been going back and forth, but nothing too consistent. So it all comes down to now those European currencies. So that's what we're going to do. Take a look at some of the pairings here and see how they're looking. Let's just start with euro against the yen. This has been definitely a good play that I can see that a lot of traders took advantage of. So very happy to see that. So yeah, you can see that when price action is strong, pullbacks are pretty short-lived. Even this pretty nasty candle here is pretty much recovered here. So this thing again is directional. It's it's broken that key resistance level at 166. Any basis, this is where when you start to get these breakouts. Now we're going to look for continuation pattern. And in those patterns, we're going to look for pullbacks. We're going to look for some basis to go long off of. You can see that it can still run up higher. The last year high was like 174. So it still has a little bit more room to run. Now, 4-hour chart is what I'll be using for directional setups. And you can see that if you're looking at these setups here, again, bull pullbacks have been good buying opportunities. Bull pullbacks, good buying opportunities. So I think in a directional play, you want to look for those pullbacks or look for some bases to get into. So euro yen still looks the best to me here. And if it gets above this 169.71 area, I think we can easily get towards above the 170 area. Now we can do this exact same thing. Take a look at Swiss franc yen. I mean, Swiss franc yen has already broken out. You can see that. This is a daily chart. And this thing is already broken out above this last highs that we saw at 180. So this thing is looking pretty bullish as well. And here's a 4-hour chart. Remember the price cycles. Do I want to go long here on a breakout? No. You want to look for those pullbacks to buy into. Those are the better entry points in these markets rather than looking for a breakout. So at this point, you can see it's making a little double top here. So probably pull back. As long as the trends remains in place, the continuation pattern seems to be the right play here. Now, taking a look at other currencies, so pound yen, that's another one that I wanted to take a look at. All right, let me just pound yen over here. And you can see that this thing is just breaking out. So this is again a 4-hour chart. We touched that resistance, pull back, and now rallying up again. So you can see this thing is also on the run as well. And on the daily chart, you can see this is up against a very key resistance at about 199. We spent a little, we tested that a couple of times last year, but after that, you can see there's definitely more room for this to run higher. So a lot of these yen pairs, I must say, are looking pretty good. But again, talking about strategy, pullbacks are a better play over here. Now, do we want to pair this against the dollar? Let's just take a look at some of the dollar pairs. As you can see, that even dollar pairs are looking pretty decent. Euro dollar, I talked about how this level. This is the level that, it's an important level to watch. We peaked right here. We came right up again, but then we pull back and now rally again. So I think this is really where the money's really going in the European currencies, coming out of the dollar, coming out of the yen, even the pound dollar. Let's see where the pound dollar is. Yeah, pound dollar is also now up against that resistance as well. So yeah, things, like I said, things are looking a lot directional than it was in the past couple of weeks. Even EuroCAD, I was watching today, actually broke. It's at the yearly high. And you can see that this thing is also looking very nicely as well. So after a lot of consolidation, things are looking directional. So in the directional play, we definitely want to be looking at the right time frame, and then also taking a look at what's the entry point. And I want to be looking at entry on both pullbacks instead of looking for a breakout there. All right, let me just go through some questions and see, what exactly you guys are looking at. Rudy says pound CAD. Let's just take a look at pound CAD. So again, I think euro and pound, they kind of look similar. Let's just go pound CAD. Yeah, beautiful. A small pullback and a beautiful breakout. That's a 4-hour chart. Even on a daily chart, we are right up against that resistance at 187.43. So don't really love the long here, but remember, pullbacks is where you want to be. If things look extended, don't chase it. This is not the markets that is, again, it's getting there. It's getting there, but for the most part, things have been not the greatest for breakout strategies. It's been good for both pullback strategies. So yeah, pound CAD, and Euro CAD looks the same to me. And again, let's take a look at Euro pound, see which one is stronger and weak. So based on the chart here, you can see that pound is showing pound is showing a little bit more strength here, but overall, you can see there the euro has been the better play in the past few days. Let's take a look at some of the other ones. Dollar yen. We like to take a look at dollar yen to see where is the direction, which one looks better between the dollar and the yen. You can see this thing is sideways. So what's interesting here is that we are seeing both the dollar pairs and the yen pairs are kind of doing the same thing, which means that dollar yen is not really showing any negative divergence here. It's kind of holding it steady. You can see had a massive reversal, went from 148 down to 144, now at 145. So I think we're not really getting any divergence here in the dollar and the yen, but always keep a close eye on dollar yen, see what they're doing. Dollar CAD, this thing, I must say that if you are looking at a long dollar play, dollar CAD probably looks the best here, because it did, had a reversal candle right here, and then it's kind of gone sideways. So I think at this point, dollar CAD is kind of doing the same thing as well, where for the most part, take a look at over here, dollar was actually weaker and CAD was doing a little better. Now I think we're seeing things sort of reverse here, and this is one of the reasons why you're seeing better price action in pound CAD or euro CAD. Those things are doing a lot better, and I think that's just one of the reasons. All right. Damien has some questions. Let's see. Some deeper pullbacks. Bear rally means buying and selling against a 4-hour velocity score. Is it better to drop to 1-hour velocity and wait for the velocity flip on these trades, or take the trade at the key level? Again, when you're taking a look at pullbacks, so the first question is that, okay, what time frame are you basing your trade on? If the trade is based on 4-hour chart, which is where we usually use a velocity, and if my time frame is a 4-hour, then my setup will be based on a 4-hour chart. If my I don't want to drop it down to an hourly unless that's my time frame. I want to hold the trade for the next few hours and not be too long term. And then yes, you can drop it off to a daily chart for the hourly chart there. But as far as the the turn goes, so when you're looking for bull pullbacks, what you're looking for is key levels where like you said, like, oh, velocity is going the other way for the short term, but you want to see price sort of hold and stabilize at this level. And this is why when there's a direction, I love this 13 EMA. I love this because you can see that overall it kind of keeps you in a trend for much longer. Over here you can see that it held that level, and then it just rallied higher. So a lot of times, you want to look for those key levels where you think it can pull back, prior resistance, now support, those areas. So yeah, and you just see those price actions sort of hold at that level and start to recover, and you will start to see, that things start to recover from there. And I think that will be a better opportunity to get into. I mean, if you take a look at the chart here, the high over here was about 148 that we had early this week. So that was a massive breakout. So we did end up, the weekly high on the dollar yen is 148. So yeah, that's a massive sort of a turnaround from there. So this is a massive pullback. This is the one thing I was kind of looking at. I'm like, hey, this is a big range bound breakout, big reversal, kind of held that level here. Does the dollar yen looks like a better long here? Well, you can see that it did sort of bounce. Remember we talked about these levels, and it pulled back a little bit in, but it did bounce. It had a nice 100 pip bounce, or almost 150 pip bounce. So for this, I think right now it's sort of topping out a little bit here, but 146 is the level of resistance here. If this breaks above 146, we can probably see a resumption of that rally, but I'm not really 100% on this chart here. I think if you just take a look at dollar and the yen, they're not really, negatively diverging here. This is where things were diverging, but I think we've probably fallen back into the flat range, into this range bound action here. Yeah, so that's really the game plan here. Again, I think that's all the currency pairs that I am taking a look at. Again, not really expecting big, twist or turns, like unless market tells you so. So far, you can see that the money's been going into the Swiss franc or even the euro. Euro actually looks really good over here, and so is the pound. So I think all these currency pairs looks pretty decent here. And a lot of times I get that question, it's like, I can't decide which one I should go. Again, a lot of times if I'm confused, I can always spread the risk. I can take a look at, half, let's say half yen and then half Swiss franc and half euro. And, so that would takes that pressure off to be right on that currency. Sometimes you can split that risk among some certain currencies that, you're not sure when they'll be breaking up, but you can see the pattern that they're in. They're all moving in the same direction. So sometimes you can sort of diversify that risk a little bit over there. Okay, let's just take a look at markets one more time, because like I said, one of the things that I am curious about is, does the market stall here? Does it stall since? Which, again, I won't be surprised it will stall right there, because that's a key level of resistance, and I don't see without a big catalyst that it can really break out. So I think this could pause a little bit here. So if that's the case, I'm curious to see how this market is going to close today. If I go on a 4-hour chart, you can see that this can still pull back into this, as long as it's above this 13 EMA. Still bullish. If this breaks below that, I think then that's where you would see the momentum sort of weakening a little bit here. So let's just talk about hypothetical scenarios. What if the market does pull back? If the market pulls back, I wouldn't be surprised, we see a little bit of recovery in the yen, because that's what we see in a risk-off environment. If the market pulls back, the money start to flow into some safe haven currencies. And in that case, I think yen can have a nice bounce. Dollar doesn't look like it's going to bounce here. It's actually looking a little bit weaker here. But again, yen probably where the money could go into. And I mean, take a look at the Swiss franc too. This is just basing right against the resistance here. And usually we see Swiss franc act nicely in a safe haven environment as well. So maybe we'll see, we'll take a look at any breakout. So, while we are speaking here, I'm just going to add an alert here. Alert, notify me when this is going to break that resistance. That way I can get in once those breakouts are happening. But yeah, the only thing that will change for me if the markets does pull back is sort of go on a defense here a little bit. And in that case, I think you can easily be on the short side in the Aussie and Kiwi, because every time market pulls back, so here's the thing, every time market pulls back, pull back a lot further. Every time market rally, this rally a lot weaker. So this is why, the Aussie has not been a great play onto the upside or try to play the bounces, because those bounces were not strong enough. But when something is strong, like how euro is, then you can see that these pullbacks are very shallow and then they go up very much quicker. When the strength is not so strong, then that's where you get frustrated with these, because they don't really follow a good pattern. They don't have a whole lot of continuity to it. So yeah, always keep in mind, when you're trying to figure out a strategy to use, is by looking at what the score of that currency is. And that's why, as I'm looking at things, when things are directional, I will change my strategy. When things are range bound, I will, change my strategy. Again, your strategy should be based on the market environment in front of you. All right, looks like that's all the questions that we have for now. So let's just wrap things up here. Again, the game plan here is to focus on the currency in play. Right now we have euro, Swiss franc, pound. Those are the ones that are playing directionally. So let's just see how long those continue to last. That's where the money is flowing. Keep a close eye on the broader markets. See how things close. So far it's been a great week. Market things can pause for a little bit. A lot of these yen crosses, a lot of these crosses are actually moving very nicely. But they could pause a little bit here. So always be patient. If you miss a big move, we'll wait for the next setup. And usually the best setup comes once, you give some time for the energy to kind of build up again. But things can go sideways for a little bit. And that's totally fine. It's just part of the overall pattern. All right. Thanks for joining. Let's see you in the next one. Happy trading. Bye-bye.